Hello friends, welcome to Lore of Neverwinter. We're going to continue from where we left off last time. We were talking about the Echoes of Prophecy campaign. And we talked about how this is sort of the expression that Neverwinter has chosen to use for the new book, Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, which if you're interested in that book and you're a D&D tabletop fan, you can hear me talk about it on the Mastering Dungeons podcast, which will be out this Thursday. And we'll be talking about it for a couple weeks as my friend Sean Merwin and I tear into that. And one of the fascinating things is to look at that book and compare it to what Neverwinter is doing. So let's go ahead and just jump right into the stream here. So we're going to use my trusty Drow Ranger again, as we did before. We're standing here in Protector's Enclave. We've got the building off in the back. Don't mind my little flying companion. And then we have the Acquisitions Incorporated headquarters here next to the little marketplace area. And if we come out over here, we can see that the tent area has grown significantly since we came here last time. And the first thing that I find rather surprising and unexpected is that I can see here the factions represented. And you might recall, if you've been around for a while, either in Neverwinter or with 5e 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, that the factions played a really big role and then they sort of disappeared a bit. So I thought it was kind of neat that they're here again. We've got the Emerald Enclave has some tents here and some different folks hanging out. We've got the Lord's Alliance and the Harpers, of course, here with Elminster and various NPCs, Order of the Gauntlet. The interesting thing is that I don't see any Zentarum. Where is the Black Network? So all of this is just kind of very interesting because it's, well, maybe this was just done for no particular reason. These sort of trades good areas. Maybe these folks could be some. Maybe this is supposed to be the Black Network. These two here, or is that someone's companion? I don't know. I don't see an official tent for the Black Network for the Zentarum, and so that's interesting because these 5 factions, we seem to be down to 4 in this area. And why is that unclear? But it's neat to see them back. I like the 5 factions. I think they're a neat expression of the game and a good way to assign roles to players to get them feel like they're part of a team. So it's interesting that the Neverwinter game brought them back more strongly here. Does that mean anything about where 5th edition is heading? Not necessarily, though they do meet regularly with the Wizards of the Coast D&D team to discuss how to proceed. So we'll see. We'll see what that means down the road. We'll also see what you're going to take a look at here, which is how this second chapter of this Echoes of Prophecy campaign, how it proceeds. So in the last video, we talked about the tear in the weave, and this was all of like, hey, something's happening to the weave, which controls all magic. And at the end, we saw a acolyte of Samaster who was the head of the Cult of the Dragon. The Cult of the Dragon was a big part of the first part of Neverwinter's history and of 5th edition history, with the very first D&D adventure being all about the Cult of the Dragon trying to bring back Tiamat. So now we've got a new second part of the campaign, Prophetic Retellings, and we're going to see what this discloses. I've unlocked it just like in the last video, but now I'm going to do it again with a new character. So let's see. And we start right back where we left off. So Elminster, we're talking to the powerful Elminster who serves Mystra. He is the chosen of that goddess of magic. And he is saying that we've got to figure out what it is that the cult is doing. Why are they back? They're slightly changed, it looks like. And the question is how. And we know this is connected to the disturbances in the weave. So we are told to go to the cult's former ritual sites and see if we can obtain a residual magic. When a powerful event like a Rite of the Dracolich takes place, pieces of the weave often remain. In this case, you should be looking for strong necromantic energies. So it's an interesting idea. The immediate parallel I thought of here, lore-wise, is that in the Neverwinter campaign book, And in the Dreadring campaign, which was the very first video I did for the Neverwinter campaign, there was this idea of how the Dreadring is collecting these dread energies, necromantic fell energies from the death of dragons to create a powerful ritual. So I thought, oh man, that's where we're going to go. Well, no, actually, we're not going back there. We're going to Velosk, which was one of the places that I covered in a video recently. This is where werewolves and Shadovar are. So I thought that was really very interesting. That's where we're going. And that the most interesting part is, well, you know, there weren't actually major draconic, if any draconic entities at all as part of the storyline, but the Shadovar do have various ties to dragons and to messing with the weave. So if you saw my previous video, you'll know that this place is all about werewolves. A lot of, you know, it's always at night, and it's lots of moon imagery and werewolf imagery. There's this really cool place where the campaign ends that you can see off in the background there. It's a dungeon where you go upwards and end up in that maw. Check out that video. So I am super excited about this because lore-wise, I kind of think to myself, okay, we're going to Velosk. Velosk is where the Shadovar were trying things. So who's the Shadovar? The Shadovar are the... and let me change my quest to lead me to the right place, and I'll talk about the Shadovar. Where is my main quest? Here we go. So the Shadovar takes us back to one of the ancient empires, or fairly ancient, not the most kind of primordial level, but pretty ancient, powerful, one of the first really, really powerful groups to live in Faerun. In this world were the empire of Netheril, and the Netherese built these enormous cities. They had all this kind of magic. They found the Nether Scrolls, which allowed them to reach into mightier magics than anybody normally has. So all of this is kind of really powerful magic. They developed floating cities, one of which has crashed in this very area. But you can see that video to hear all about it. And as part of the whole, well, they end up working, they become part of the Shadowfell. And when they join the Shadowfell, which is the dark shadow realm that's a sort of an echo, a necromantic dark echo of this world, they escape to the Shadowfell and become the Shadovar, so as to avoid a magical calamity. And when they do that, they when they escape, they become changed, and so they become these shades, and then they come back in their last floating city and do all kinds of nefarious things, including the plot of what we talked about, which is what takes place in Velosk. So coming back to the beginning, what does this have to do with dragons? I don't know. It really doesn't. But it's all about dark necromantic energies. So maybe the Cultist Dragon is working with the Shadovar. And is that at all official? I don't know. Super interesting. So we come to this little bubble here on this map, and we collect residue. And hey, look, some bad guys show up. An assassin golem and some assassins. My companion's already fighting them, and I'll fight them as well. It's totally fine. Nothing particularly interesting in terms of these foes, other than to note that they're a little bit different than the classic foes that we faced some time ago, in which you saw in my video about the Tiamat campaign. So, all right, we've collected this, and now we're told to go to the Chasm. The Chasm's a neat place that I have not done a video about. This is a location where an enormous rift sprang up in the middle of, and we'll look at our map again, in the very middle of Neverwinter. So this map we've looked at before. This is a magnifying glass showing the city, which is located here on the Sword Coast of Faerun, also known as Toril. And so this is the outline of the city. There's the river that comes through. It's warm because it comes from the mountain. That's why it's called Neverwinter, because we never actually get a winter, or let's say we get winter, the water doesn't freeze in the port, which is awesome. So that's why we call it Neverwinter. And in this area here, a enormous chasm breaks open and Spellplague energies are released when the Spellplague happens, which is a magic cataclysm I've talked about in other videos. So so that's all very terrible, and in this campaign, which is part of the sort of initial storyline you go through when you're a young character coming up in levels, is you come to this jumbled, as you can see, crazy place where nothing makes sense. Rocks float in the air, and horrible beasts that are very sort of far realm type have emerged from the Spellplague, but they're all covered in blue energies. So that's where we're going to. It's a really neat looking place. I mean, just all chaos and upheaval, right? Really neat to look at. But we're not going to do that whole campaign here, though this character could, because I haven't done it with this character. You can see all kinds of weird things like Nothics and plague changed creatures. They're going to try to chase me. I'm going to try to run away. I might not succeed. But here we find another of these bubbles. And this, lore-wise, oh, and here we got some draconic people who show up to protect it. Dragon Fang Assassin again, and another Assassin Golem. So it's like they were guarding this area, I guess is the concept. But, you know, you might say, okay, Teo, so you had some possible ideas of why the Netherese or Shar might be involved, you know, why we went to Velusk. Why did we come to the Chasm? Well, now you've got me. Maybe because of these chaotic energies that are found in this place, but I don't really see a lot of lore here. Let's see if Elminster gives us any clues as we head back there. So I'm going to go back to Protector's Enclave in the city. And we'll see if Elminster tells us anything interesting. We'll see how far I get in this video. I might do this in 2 parts because it is a little bit late. I had a lot of work to do today, and then I decided to stream. But my family's about to come home, and I think I'm going to cook dinner. So I will have to go before too long.
The remnant magic you found confirmed.
This is the kind of... I love it when video games do this. Hey, the magic you brought back confirms it. The cultists are once again attempting to bring Samaster's prophecy to fruition. Okay, I don't know how you gathered that from strange energies, but okay. And it's some sort of strange meta magic. So you don't even understand the magic, but you somehow know this is linked to the prophecy. I don't know why that is, but Samaster's prophecy is the idea that dragons should rule the world on a loose level, a very broad level. Getting into the nitty-gritty details depends on sort of who you ask. And one of the interesting things about the Cult of the Dragon is they changed their lore to say, hey, that prophecy was sort of wrong. And it's not about old dead dragons or turning dragons into Dracoliches, undead dragons. It's about live dragons, and we need to bring Tiamat back and all of these live dragons to take over the world. So maybe it means that the Cult of the Dragon has reverted back to its old ways of going after Dracoliches. I'm not sure.
If we wish to predict the Cult of the Dragon's next move, then we must understand their plans. Yes.
So this is where they kind of mix their lore a bit. The game has an active Well of Dragons area, as you saw in my Well of Dragons Cult of Tyranny of Dragons video. So that area, because it's, you know, different zones of the world are sort of maintained endlessly. Like you never truly beat the foes, even if you finish the campaign. So on one hand, we're saying the Cult of the Dragon was defeated. How can they be back? But of course, there's an area of the game where they're always active. So, hey, that's an area where somehow they're still around. Go check out what they're doing there. So we are directed to check out this area, sort of a force in the logic. Hey, there's still some cultists active in this area. So we go to the Well of the Dragons. You saw this in my previous video about this area. And now what we're supposed to do, and I've got lots of quests here, so let me make sure I pick up the correct one. Discovering the plot. So we need to take down some cultists so that they will, you know, give us some sort of clues as to this. So let's see. The best areas with cultists are probably going to be over this way, but let me see. Yeah. I don't know if these work, but see, there's nobody here. There's some cultists here. We'll see if any of these guys will work for dance around and jump and take down these guys. See if they, so far, no cultist clues. I guess the idea is that we need a cultist clue in order to, I think I have to be in another spot. So let's move over here. So if I can get a clue to drop, then I will know enough so as to, I guess, orient myself within the Well of Dragons. Looks like someone's been taking down various cultists, so I do not see. Here we are. So I'm taking down the classic cultists, hoping for clues. No clues. Might as well light their bone carts on fire. This quest can take a little bit of time. I don't know why they make it so hard to drop a clue, but they do. And still no clue. So we'll continue to beat up cultists until one of them will release it. And if this doesn't work, I'll move to a different area where there are more of them. Okay, so let's see. So maybe I'll try over in this area here. So I'll take a look. I really like the Well of Dragons. I find it a very gorgeous area, just completely beautiful. So I do not mind spending a little bit of time here. Lots of cultists, no shortage. And we've got some messengers too. So, yeah, we're doing our best to take them down, but boy, they're not wanting to drop their clues. And if you've been here before, you've seen some of the funny quests that you can have here, so you can swap chests of the Cult of the Dragon with mimics, and then someone will go check it out and get surprised by a mimic. This always makes me laugh. It's very funny. It always makes you laugh. Yeah, good times. You gotta like it. Alright, but we'll do more mimicizing later. Let's see if I can get anybody else to... Oh, wait, is that it? Is this it? Hey, we got a clue from a cultist. There we go. Alright, so now we get to search the camp for clues, it tells us. So the idea is, the Cult of Dragons clearly involved. They've got details in camps over here. Here's a clue. I always like how Elminster likes to set us out doing these things. I guess, you're a powerful Archmage. You could do it all by yourself, but you probably need to employ people to make sure that there's some people who can show up and help you out when you need help. So you just give them all kinds of random odd jobs periodically. Let's see, more clues. Oh, here we go. Lots of clues. 3, 4 clues out of 5. Need all the clues. We have 5 clues, and I think now we can return to Elminster. Just in time as a heroic encounter showed up. Yeah, so we're going to hand this in, and then I will take a break, and we'll come back and do more of this. So let's see what Elminster tells us about the clues we found and the Well of the Dragons.
did you find? The prophecy of Halaster? Well, let me have a look at it. You're right.
Yeah, and I think in fact...
Something at the bottom here. It appears...
So, okay, so apparently what I found were copies of the Prophecy of Masters. That confirms what Elminster was saying. And they're looking for an artifact from Undermountain. And we have something about them leaving us some clues to somebody who's on Undermountain. So now we're going to go to the Yawning Portal. The Yawning Portal is in Waterdeep, not Neverwinter, but we have traveled there before and we can do so again. And we're going to talk to their contact. So that's where we'll stop. I'm going to go cook dinner, but we will resume later in the Yawning Portal of Waterdeep. Hello everyone, we are going to continue where we left off in the Echoes of Prophecy campaign. Last time we had reached the Yawning Portal Tavern. And here we are in the Yawning Portal. This is located not in Neverwinter, but in the city of Waterdeep. It's a really neat looking place tavern, which apparently allows me to bring my little flying companion inside. Yeah, it's a really neat looking place. If you know about the Yawning Portal, either from the Dragon Heist adventure or older sources, you'll recognize the layout of it. And you can explore a fair bit of it. But we come here following on this quest that we received last time from Elminster the Sage. And this quest tells us that we must figure out some contact that's working with the Cult of the Dragon. So, yeah, let's go talk to this contact. I like the idea that this quest takes us to this location, which may be one that our adventurer hasn't been to in some time. Dubious Desperado. So we gotta go into this back room and we talk to this guy. Looks like a pirate. Yeah, he's not a very nice guy. So, you know, this is one of these quests that doesn't have a lot of options. We basically have to pay them off. Sure.
This will suffice. Look, we're the same, you and I. We do what we must to survive.
So for whatever reason, he took my coin, even though he's getting diamonds from the Cult of the Dragon. Seems like he's very bad at business. And, some kind of artifact. All right. So that's what we know. And then we are told to return to Elminster. So let's do that. We'll go to Protector's Enclave. And one thing you'll notice, if you remember what Protector's Enclave looked like in the last video, it does not look as nice as this screen that you see right now. It's going to be, the Protector's Enclave will be at war. And this is an event that just started, which is, you see kind of have this like blood sky, and as we go around we'll see signs of wreckage, and that is because we have a current event called Siege of Neverwinter, and in it the Cult of the Dragon attacks us. So we'll cover that in a bit, but for now we're just going to stay focused on the Echoes of Prophecy campaign and finish that off. So just ignore the wreckage as the Cult of the Dragon attacks us. We go back to this area where all of the factions are located, or as we said last time, 4 out of the 5 factions are located. That was Zentarum. And we're going to turn in our quest to Elminster and see what he says about that. Okay. So some sort of artifact unearthed in Undermountain that is of interest to the Cult of the Dragon. I always find interesting these quests have often added more information than we provided. So we only learned there's a contact with an artifact, but, you know, it came from Undermountain and all this sort of stuff. So, okay, it's interesting. And now we're going to go to the cult, dig site, and stop them. And I'll let you know, this is the last part of the quest series here in Echoes of Prophecy. So to sort of review, we talked to Elminster to follow up on what we'd learned last time, which was that the Cult of the Dragon was involved. And we went to places to gather sort of strange sources of power. And maybe this was related to Shar in some way, or the Netheris that went off to the Shadowfell and were changed by it, the Shadovar. And maybe it was related to some chaotic energies, even Far Realm, which were found in the Chasm. Then we went to the Cult of the Dragon and gathered clues which spoke of the prophecies of Samaster. Now we hear that there's some artifact from Undermountain, and the last part of the quest will take us to Undermountain again, and this time to a cultist artifact dig site. This is the map of Undermountain. I have not, with this character, explored all these different areas. I haven't started this campaign with this person, but normally you adventure through all these different areas, just as you do in the adventure. And we're going to go just to this dig site for the last part of this quest line. And again, this is chapter 2 of Echoes of Prophecy. There will be, I believe, at least one more part of this campaign. Yeah, part 3 will come soon.
This mine has been stripped of mithril. Tobrians must have been here. Well, it's full of cultists now.
Yeah, so worth saying that we've got here a statue of Halaster. And so this is Undermountain, and this is some mine, I guess, that has been stripped of mithril by Halaster's companion Tobriand. And hey, we can fight some Dragonwind Berserker, and there's a supplicant of that follows the Black Dragon path. I've said this before in other streams. I really like how in the Neverwinter game, these guys all evoke part of the dragons. It reminds me a little of in Princes of the Apocalypse Adventure. There are different cultists for each of the elements. In the same way here, they choose to have different representations for each of the dragon types. So you have the green dragon, or these archers that deal like poison shots like that and immobilize you, and you have the black dragons that sort of empower them. They all have different ways. The blues kind of will bristle with lightning and put up a shield. And these that we meet here are slightly different, I guess, to represent the fact that they've changed somewhat. Yeah. And we see here some kind of Undermountain, like a door from Undermountain. And this map is sort of interesting. I'll pull it up here. I've explored this already with another character. We're going to go and defeat 2 Arcanists that are conducting some sort of ritual, and then we're going to go into this central area. But you can actually explore the whole area, which makes it clear that this map is something we're going to visit later in the future. And so we're kind of borrowing this map from something that'll be used in later content, which I think is sort of interesting. The game often does that, sort of reuses things. There are also these little like areas you can go into, but there's nothing really inside. Just these little tapestries can be pushed aside, or hanging bits of cloth, and you can walk in. But there isn't anything in them. Presumably later there might be some quest that takes us back to this location. Probably content they're working on. It sounds like the content that they're going to release is based off of this plot line. So this is sort of laying the seeds for the future module they'll have. You can see some roving groups of cultists, and we'll just come here and fart away through these guys, and the other will probably join in the fight to deal with them as well. It's fine. I also like the way that these cultists will have sort of lesser drakes, which aren't as powerful as dragons, of course, but it's kind of neat to have them involved in it. Gives you that draconic feel without being as strong as a dragon. It's a neat trick to do as a dungeon master as well if you're running the tabletop game. Put in creatures like drakes, which there are a good number of them that you can borrow from in both 5th edition and earlier editions. So yeah, we're just going to fight through these guys. We're almost to the first Arcanist. You can see them beyond there. All right. So having defeated those, we can see there's this sort of strange looking Arcanist of Warding, kind of surrounded in shadow. That definitely looks very Netheril, Shadovar type of thing. And once we disrupt them, they release some lightning, so they don't seem to have particular powers other than what some of the previous cultists we faced were, you know, kind of this is the lightning type, and no real indication of what they're doing there, why they've got that that particular power. What kind of ritual they were doing is not clear. Maybe that'll be some lore that's explained later, or not. You never know. Dragon Soul Poison Maker. There's your green dragon theme new foe. Yeah, so we head past this Halaster statue. So we don't forget that we're in Undermountain. And again, we're just going through part of the map here, but you can explore the whole thing. I'll show you where once I get to it. And I'm playing my ranger today, as I did in the last series of videos. They can either attack at range, or they can attack up close, and I better drink a potion so I don't die. This is one of my weaker characters, but still very playable. Haven't done all the campaigns with this one, or geared them up appropriately, but it's fine. So now that I've defeated those, I can face off against the final Arcanist of Warding. Warding what, one must wonder?
I've got a bad feeling about this. Watch your back.
Alright. Feel like you told me to watch my back, and yet nothing's going to come from behind, but okay. So oh, yeah, I was going to show you that if you want to explore the rest of this area, you can actually hop up here. And this will let you go back here, and you can then run around this whole area and explore sort of all of this area on the map. But it just looks like the rest of what we've been in. There's nothing particularly interesting to explore. You can just see what the map will look like. I think there are a few things scattered around that are sort of objects of interest, but nothing particularly interesting.
They're casting a missile. Stop them.
So that is interesting. They're casting a mythal. So that would be a very powerful magic
Interfere with the mythal and you pay the price.
spell that can be used to essentially, stronger than 9th level magic, stronger than the strongest magic, that can do great things. And then she also mentioned a Orb of Dragonkind, which I think in Forgotten Realms is Orb of Draconic Influence. This is something that we've seen. It comes from Greyhawk and from Dragonlance, where these are dragon orbs that allow you to control dragons and get great influence over them. The dragon masks that were part of the Tyranny of Dragons information were basically acting as orbs of dragonkind as well. And in our inventory, when we kill that Priestess of Sandmaster, is this book here. And that's kind of interesting. Thultenthar Necromancy, Volume 1. The first half of a 2-part treatise on undead metamagic. Okay, that factors in with what we learned before. Written by the Netheries of Thultenthar, goes into how one with the right amount of powerful spellcasters and control of the weave can convert large swaths of living creatures into undead. All right, now we've got our storyline, right? I guess that's what we're talking about here. Very interesting to see whether we are going to see this figure into the storyline just for Neverwinter, or is this a storyline that we're going to see on the Dungeons & Dragons side as well? The Netheries of Thultenthar manipulating the weave, that magic underpinning of all of Forgotten Realms, to convert large swaths of living creatures into undead. And this book is actually something that the name of it has a significance. Thultenthar is a word from the Loras language and means shade. So it's also known as Shade Enclave. This is the last floating Netherese city that vanished to sort of flee the attacks of the Faerûn, vanished from our world into the Shadowfell, so that the Netherese could escape And when they were there, they changed in nature and became the Shadovar rather than just Netheries. They became sort of shadow infused, more like Shadovar or other shadow creatures. So that's that city. That's what this necromantic volume is. And that city was supposed to have been destroyed when it came back to the Forgotten Realms. So the idea that somehow this exists, that somehow somebody has plumbed its depths and found this information, is very interesting. And the person who had this ship, or actually the flying city itself, was brought down by Elminster. So let's go turn it into Elminster and see what he tells us. So, let's see, here's Elminster at the camp.
Neverwinter, by Mistra. It's all so clear to me now.
The cultists are using that first tome we recovered to try and cast a mythal, a direct draw from the weave itself. That would explain all the disturbances. This other codex is one of 2 ancient necromantic works from the Netherese city of Thultanthar. I destroyed that wicked city myself. How did this survive? Very interesting. And then we will continue December 1st with Dusty Old Books. So we've got almost half a month, a little over half a month before that next part kicks in. So there you have it. This has been our capture of the Echoes of Prophecy campaign. And we'll see where this takes us and what it holds for the future. What are the Netheries up to? And is it truly the Netheries behind this? Are they working with the Cult of the Dragon? Is the Cult of the Dragon fully in charge and they're just using Netheries secrets? Maybe that they recovered from Velosk or one of the other areas that we've been exploring. Maybe there's some Far Realm influence. It'll be interesting to see how that tracks and how the Draconic themes come across. If you like what I do here, please consider supporting my work. I write adventures, I write supplements. Recent work includes the rules for collaborative campaign creation, for which you can see the image on the right-hand side. You can get that for free on alphastream.org by signing up for my mailing list. And you will also receive updates for my blog articles. You can also support me by checking out all these other titles I've written. You can find those on thedmsguild.com. A full list of all my creations, from board games to role-playing games, can be found on alphastream.org. Subscribe and you won't miss any updates for my upcoming projects. Thanks so much.